Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna.
Much for everyone for joining us today for Bhagavat Sravana. This is our first Bhagavat Sravana of 2024. Haribol! Happy to have you all here with us today, and we're so happy to have Sri Prahlada with us here today. He's going to be speaking on a devotee in all circumstances, teachings on bhakti from Prahlada Maharaj. I've noticed you like speaking about Prahlada Maharaj, and it's funny because his name is Sri Prahlada Das, so there might be a correlation there. Yeah, but I can speak for hours about Sri Prahlada, but I'll keep it super short so that he can speak. But he was born into this movement, and he attended the Gurukul in Mayapur and has been practicing devotional service and doing kirtan, basically since the womb and his entire life. And when he was a very young man, he told me the whole story. He started chanting japa, and he took initiation from Hridayananda Maharaj at a very young age, and then started traveling with Indrajumna Maharaj also at a very young age, being Indrajumna Maharaj's like right-hand man. And he traveled for 18 years with Indrajumna Maharaj, doing kirtan and programs and serving him. And since that time, under the shelter of Indrajumna Maharaj and his spiritual master, he's just, basically done such a beautiful service of not only kirtan, which he's very well known for, but also teaching. He's an incredible teacher, and he was working as a professor in the academic environment for many, many years, and has coached and taught seminars for all different corporations, and also written books, including a book on leadership, which if you're interested, you can ask him about. We are hoping that he will do a seminar on leadership for us here at the Bhakti Center this year, and he's also going to be getting more involved in teaching here at Bhakti Center this year, some of our wisdom courses, so we're really looking forward to that. And his wife and him recently moved here to New York, and he's going to be doing a lot of teaching and kirtan outreach at yoga studios, and we're just so grateful to have him as part of our community. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Thank you for being here today and for this opportunity to engage with you. It just so happens that I was given. He loved to hear and discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, and we know he loved to discuss the 10th canto because that's what describes Krishna's teachings in the most direct way. But his biographers note that he also loved to hear the teachings of Prahlada. He liked to hear the story of Dhruva as well. And Prabhupada also liked to speak on these sections of the Bhagavatam the most from all of his lectures. So there is some correlation, but it goes beyond namesake. So previously we have spoken about Prahlada Maharaj and his compassion. Today I want to spend time digging deeper into his teachings on bhakti. And when we think about bhakti, when we discuss bhakti, he is a great exemplar. His story is a great exemplar. His story is very famous. We're not going to tell his whole story, or even attempt it. That's the story of the appearance of Narasimhadev. Generally, when we discuss Prahlada Maharaj, it's in the context of the story of Narasimhadev. Probably the only time I mention Narasimhadev will be right now. And we're going to really focus on Prahlada and his life and teachings, his example and his teachings. So we'll discuss it in 3 sections. I'm going to ask you to reflect as well as we go through what insights, what realizations you have at the different stages. So first, Prahlada, virtuous son of a vicious father. This is an interesting context for thinking about a personality like Prahlada, showing us a very important lesson, a very important example of bhakti and the stories that we might tell ourselves, excuses why we may make for not being more fixed, not being more spiritually elevated. The second we will talk about is his being sent to school and the persecution that he endured. And then finally we'll talk about what he did at school in terms of him becoming a teacher of his schoolmates rather than being just another friend to play with. He also became a teacher, and that's where we learn a lot of his teachings on bhakti as well. So his father is a very infamous demon. His name says it all. Hiranya means gold. Kashipu famously means soft bed. Or you could say pillow, so gold and pillow, or gold and soft bed. Gold and sex basically is his interest. His uncle has an interesting name as well. Can somebody say? Sanskrit and or English, if you will, if you wish. Hiranyaksha, Sanskrit and English. Hiranyakashipu is the father, so golden soft bed and
golden eyes.
Golden eye. So gold bed and golden eye. These are 2 brothers. And it sounds James Bond, right? Goldfinger, golden eye. That was his name. Golden eye. That's where he's eye on the prize. He's got his eyes on the gold. And so they're 2 brothers. That's the family that Prahlada has appeared in. And Hiranyakashipu, he performed austerities, he was a yogi, we can say. So this is also interesting to think about how he performed tapasya, generally considered a very spiritual performance, a very spiritual activity, his great austerity. He had great discipline. We don't need to stop playing with our phones or turning them onto silent mode. So tapasya, yoga, generally we think of these as very elevated spiritual activities. Gaining powers, gaining mystic powers, generally we think of that also as a symptom of spiritual advancement. Hiranyakashipu did all of that, but he's also one of the greatest demons the universe, not just the earth, the universe has ever known. So that should also give us pause for reflection, pause for thought. Sometimes we may use the yoga practice a discipline, but for nefarious means or for ulterior means. His penance is described as lasting, who can say, how many years?
1,000.
10,000 years. So yeah, we don't even live that long. 10,000 years standing on the tips of his toes, such that he was so disciplined. Ants built a hill or a nest over his body and ate away his flesh, but he was able to, with his yogic power, able to maintain his life force, his atma, in his bones. So yeah, very, very disciplined yoga practice that Hiranyakashipu performed. Again, I think there's an important note for us there. And then he received boons. He asked for the boon of immortality, and Brahma said, I can't give you that. His tapas was so great that it started to cause disturbance in the universe. He had fire coming out of the top of his head and was eating up all the oxygen of the universe, that people couldn't breathe. And so Brahma appeared to pacify him. What do you want? I want to be immortal. And Brahma said, I can't give you that because I myself have to die. And so, very famously, Hiranyakashipu, he's smart, he changes tack. He says, okay, give me these other boons. I won't die the day or night, inside or outside. I won't be killed by any weapon, by a man or a beast, and so on. And after that, Brahma said, yes, 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 and he thought, I am immortal. In fact, I'm God. And so he as a king, he instructed the people to worship him rather than Vishnu or Krishna. He forbade temple worship, he forbade sacrifice. So he has 4 sons. The youngest of these sons is Prahlada. They are Radha brothers, so Samrad, Anurad, Rad, and Prahlada. And then it turns out that this youngest son is a great devotee of Vishnu, Krishna. And this is very distressing for Hiranyakashipu, because his son is in Hiranyakashipu's mind, he is a follower of the enemy. He is a devotee of the person that he considers his rival. And so his qualities are described in the 5th chapter, 31st, 32nd, and other verses. He has respect towards saintly persons. His character is noble, he's truthful, he's disciplined. Wow, we're really going to need to either turn the phone off, put it on silent mode, or go out. So this is me demonstrating Prahlada Maharaja's qualities of tolerance and self-control in this moment. Getting tested. So he has, the opposite qualities to his father and his associates, his family, and that's considered surprising, perplexing, but also, again, instructional for all of us. There's a famous story that is told of 2 boys. One is he's the mayor of his town. The other's in jail. They're both sons of their father, who has been imprisoned for many crimes, like repeat offending. And so then they interviewed both of them and say, how is it that you became the person you are? And each of them give the same answer. what would you expect with a dad like mine? So, how we translate or how we make sense of our experience is very important. Prahlada, the son of the greatest demon, but then he's choosing to develop virtuous qualities as opposed to let that be an excuse or a reason for his being also demoniac. Nice description of how he deals with others. He's a friend to all, like Krishna, like Vishnu, like Paramatma. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna says, I'm the well-wishing friend of all living beings. But it's not a bland equipoise in the sense of treat everyone. Yes, treat everyone equally, but there's also flavor and color in the relationships. And so Prahlada is described as honoring those who are his seniors, those who are more spiritually realized. He's like a father to those that he can support and give his shelter to those whom he can give shelter. He is like a brother for those who are of similar stature, whether it be age or other considerations. And then he honors his elders like his masters. And this is a nice example for us. Rupa Goswami describes the elevated Vaishnava is one who has these different types of relationships and different types of dealings. That they are merciful to those that are less spiritually realized. They might avoid those who are envious. They give mercy to those that they can help and support. They make firm friendship and have loving, friendly dealings with those of similar realization, and they serve as a disciple those who are more spiritually realized. And so Prahlada is a nice example of someone who's described as enacting or engaging in all these different types of loving exchanges. And then his bhakti, his devotion, his devotional dealing is also described, and it's very, very beautiful. It says that even as a child, generally we know his story as a 5-year-old. The story that's told is of the most famous part of his life story is when he's a 5-year-old boy. He becomes a king. There are other stories about him in his adult life, but generally we think of him as a 5-year-old boy, and it is described how even as a child he was less interested in toys, and his mind is fully absorbed in Krishna. And this is important because when we discuss the different practices of bhakti or navanga bhakti, the 9 processes of bhakti, and we will talk about those. Prahlada is given as the exemplar of, from the 9 practices of bhakti, Prahlada is the exemplar of smarana, or remembrance, mental absorption in God, mental absorption in Krishna. And so here it says, even as a child his mind was absorbed. Sometimes his absorption in Krishna would manifest as ecstatic symptoms. So when we read about Chaitanya and his characteristics, he's often described as being very ecstatic, that he would cry because of ecstasy of love of God. Sometimes he would laugh, sometimes he would sing, sometimes he would dance ecstatically, and sometimes he would enact Krishna's pastimes as well. And so it's when I read Prahlada Maharaj, the description of Prahlada as singing and dancing in ecstasy and crying and laughing, for me, it very much reminds me of those descriptions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well, and even that illustration that you see on the screen. Some might see it and think, oh, there's Lord Chaitanya. That looks like Lord Chaitanya. Gaurachandra dancing here. They look very similar. But in fact, it is Prahlada Maharaj. In his love for God, he would be inspired to sing and to dance and it says, not caring for the opinion or the perception of others. His ecstatic love would be spontaneously expressed in these ways. And so these are called Sattvika Bhavas, the 8 symptoms of ecstatic love. And when you read this description, Prahlada, basically it's a checklist. They're all there, those different 8 symptoms of ecstatic love. So we can pause here. Any thoughts or reflections thus far, hearing about Prahlada and his example? Yes?
I just thought I'd tell you an interesting story. My guru, Kadamakananda Swami, was a real scholar of Lord Chaitanya and the different biographies, and he told me a story that he came across that I never heard before, which is that at one point, Hiranyakashipu started thinking, this boy seems so powerful, maybe there's something to what he's saying.
Right.
And then he dismissed it and he said, no, it's because he's my son. That's why he's so
right. Yeah. Good. Thank you for that. Yes. Any other reflections? Yes?
All right, so I gotta pronounce the guy's name. The guy's name that starts with a P.
Yeah, Prahlada, yeah.
How you say it?
Prahlada.
Prahlada. Okay, you said his father was a demon, right?
Yeah.
And so how I correlate that with my life is that, I've dealt with, the most not savory people, but, we all have choices.
Yeah.
And you can choose to, take the evil path and use, excuses, or you could learn from what you've seen in that path and use that for good.
Very good. Yeah, excellent. Great insight. Thank you for that. Yeah, so we all have stories that we can tell, right? And we can make excuses one way or another, or justify our choices with one story or another. Any other reflections? Okay, we have 2 other sections. I'm going to ask you for reflections after each of those. So, Champak, is that your hand going up? Or are you
I'm
scratching
thinking,
your
but
ear?
yeah, I'll wait.
So yeah, we are not qualified or disqualified from bhakti on account of our environment in which we are born or which we live. Actually, the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, in which Prahlada's story is told, it begins with a question from Parikshit Maharaj. He says to Sukadeva Goswami, is God biased? Does God discriminate? Does God favor the demigods over the demons? Like, is he biased towards one group of people over another group? Because in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, you have 6th canto, you have Krishna helping Indra defeat Vritrasura and defeat demons, basically. And so then Parikshit asks his question, it seems that God is biased. Is he biased? Does he favor one people over another people? And the answer to the question, Sukadeva Goswami tells the story of Prahlada. No, he's not biased. See here, Prahlada was born in a family of demons. And Krishna loved him so much. And later in Prahlada's story, we're not going to go there today, when Narasimhadev appears, there we go, we said his name again. When Narasimhadev defeats his father, Hiranyakashipu, Brahma comes forward to offer prayers, Lakshmi comes forward to offer prayers, and they can't pacify him. And then Prahlada comes forward, and Narasimhadev embraces him So he exalts Prahlad above all the other devotees, demigods, and Sukadeva Goswami is giving this as the example that devotees can appear in any position, in any situation, if their love for Krishna is reciprocated. They love Krishna, then accordingly they will receive his loving reciprocation. And so that's why the story of Prahlad is told in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. So, yeah, what's important is how we choose to live in terms of the values we cultivate, the qualities that we develop, even in a context where externally the environment is surcharged with non-devotional vibrations, where we are, not the Bhakti Center, this is the oasis in a place surcharged with non-devotional vibrations. But even in such an environment, we learn from the story of Prahlad that it is possible to cultivate the highest bhakti. Even in an environment where service to Krishna has been banned, it has been made illegal. We were talking about this earlier with Surpa. In some countries in history, there have been contexts, there have been times where it was illegal to have a Bhagavad Gita in your house. It was illegal to have Japamala, and if it was discovered, then you'd be rounded up by the secret police and sent off to a psychiatric institution or labor camp or some other situation. So Hiranyakashipu basically created an environment like that when he was ruling. And even in that context, Prahlad, he shows us that it is possible to cultivate love and devotion and devotional qualities. Okay, let's hear about his school then. Prahlad, at the age of 5, is sent to the school of his teachers, Sanda and Amarka. Sanda and Amarka are brothers, and their father is, anyone can say? Shukra Acharya. And in English we say, for Shukra, Venus. So Venus, I think in Western thought, philosophy, astrology, astronomy, mythology, Venus is thought of as feminine. In Indian thought, history, Venus is a male figure. His name is Shukra. Venus represents material opulence and beauty and wealth. Mandala is an astrologer. So yeah, Venus. I'm just thinking of you as I mentioned Shukra. Yeah.
I was just typing the word Venus as you said that.
Yeah.
And it's completely amazing.
So this Venus, then Venus Shukra, Prahlad gets sent to his school. Train my son up how to be a good materialist. Train up my son about the Venetian qualities, beauty, fame, wealth, charisma. So these are very popular qualities today as well. Hiranyakashipu wanted these things for his son, and so he was sent to the school of Shukra. Shukra didn't teach him personally, he had his sons, Sanda and Amarka, teaching Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu was very happy with this. I got him a good teacher, learning from Venus, the school of Venus or the school of Shukra Acharya. He'll be trained well by his sons Sanda and Amarka. And so after some time, he invited Prahlad to the palace, sat him on his lap, and said, "Son, what is the best of all the things that you have learned from your teachers?" And Prahlad says, "O king of the demons, best of the asuras, any person who has accepted the temporary body is embarrassed by, as the self, is embarrassed by anxiety. They have fallen in the dark world in which there is no water, just suffering. Hiranyakashipu is quite puzzled. One should give up the material position and go to the sacred forest of Vrindavan. That's how Prabhupada translates it. He says the forest. And cultivate their relationship with the Supreme. Cultivate their relationship with Krishna. Hiranyakashipu is quite surprised at this answer from his 5-year-old son. He looks at the teachers. You guys teach him this? No, not us. He didn't learn this in the school of Venus. He didn't learn this in the school of Shukra. And so Hiranyakashipu, he kind of rationalizes it to himself. He says, the intelligence of children is being polluted by the words of the enemy. Such are the words of a child whose mind has been polluted by the words of the enemy. Protect him in the Gurukul from devotees, from Vaishnavas, who might be there trying to influence him one way or another. And so that's what Hiranyakashipu concludes is going on. He thinks there must be some infiltration in the school, and so he tells the teachers to be more careful. Look after my son. I don't want his mind to be corrupted by, he already has an inclination, a tendency towards saintliness. We don't want any more saintliness in him. Guard and protect him. And so they take him back to school. And they try to teach him about politics and diplomacy. They talk to him about understanding who are your friends and who are your enemies. How you influence others through friendship. You build alliances. And with enemies, what are your ways to deal with them? You could pay them out. You could flatter them. You could form an alliance if you're in the weaker position, just so long until that time as you build up your strength, and then you squash them. Otherwise, if you're in the strongest position, you hit them down hard as soon as possible to just extinguish the flame of their existence. These were the you can read it in the text. These were the teachings given by Sanda and Amarka to 5-year-old Prahlad. And Prahlad, he's resisting these teachings of his teachers in the school. He remains firmly fixed in his devotion. And so after some more time, Hiranyakashipu invites him again back to the palace, sits him on his lap, and he again asks the same question. What is the best of all the things that you have learned in school? I guess this is a question we ask children, right? What did you learn in school today? That's a topic of conversation. It's a way of just checking in to see how much attention they're paying or what they're learning. And so Hiranyakashipu is actually quite concerned already. This boy, he has devotional inclinations. We're trying to re-educate him towards more materialistic inclinations. And so he seats Prahlad on his lap. He asks him the question, and Prahlad gives his very famous response. What is the best of all the things I have learned? But Prahlad hears, what is the best of all things you learned from your teachers? Now Prahlad has the teachers in the school of Shukra, in the school of Venus, but he has another teacher that he considers at a high level. And so he says, what is the best of all the things you've learned from your teachers? He goes, well, Narada Muni. Narada Muni taught me about bhakti. And so his response is very, very famous. Those of you who know it, you can chant with me. Shravanam kirtanam vishnu smaranam parasevanam archanam vandanam dasyam satyam atmani vedanam. Anytime you read a short write-up about bhakti, more often than not, they will mention the 9 practices of bhakti. And that list of 9 practices of bhakti comes from Prahlada Maharaj. Specifically, his response to his father's question, what is the best of all things you have learned from your teacher? The best of all things that I have learned is bhakti. How is bhakti practiced? It begins with hearing about the divine, hearing about the Lord. Kirtanam. It's followed up with glorifying or chanting the holy name. We were engaged in chanting, singing. So it begins with hearing and then singing or glorifying the divine. Smaranam, remembering. After hearing and chanting, then it should go deep into our consciousness that even when we leave the Bhakti Center, we are remembering. We are remembering Krishna. It involves becoming a servant of the Lord, doing service to the Lord. Parasevanam, worship. We have temple worship here. To Radha Muralidhar. Archana. 5. Vandana, offering prayers. Archana. 5. 6. Vandana, offering prayers. 7. Serving the Lord. Sakyam, considering the Lord one's friend. I think that's a Chittagopi's meditation. Krishna is my best friend. Krishna is our best friend, right? We hear her talk about that a lot. Our best friend Krishna, Sakyam. And then finally, Atmani Vedanam, surrender of mind, body, and words. So this is where we get that list. This is the story of how that list of bhakti practices is given to us. Of course, we expand on it. There are exemplars for each of these. The exemplar for hearing is Parikshit Maharaj. The exemplar for speaking is Sukadev Goswami. The exemplar for remembering, we should all know this one.
Prahlada Maharaj.
Prahlada Maharaj, well done. The exemplar for serving, Padasevanam, is Lakshmi. The exemplar for temple worship is, here it's Prithu, yeah, in the illustration, we say, of Barish Maharaj. The exemplar for offering prayers is Akrura. The exemplar for serving the Lord.
There it looks like, is that Hanuman?
Hanuman, yeah, he is the exemplar, yeah, Hanuman. The exemplar for friendship with the Lord is Arjuna. And the exemplar for full surrender, mind, body, and words is Bali Maharaj, who is also related to Prahlada.
Grandson.
I beg your pardon?
Is he the grandson of Prahlada?
Grandson, yeah. Yeah, very good. So that's the list, and then these are the exemplifications of people who achieved spiritual perfection through one of these devotional practices. We can think of them as pathways in bhakti. Some will be more attracted to hear these discussions from the Bhagavatam. Some will be more inspired by singing, the kirtan, the musical chanting, glorification. Some will be more inspired by deity service. And that will be your connection. That will be your way to connect. My wife, she loves deities and she loves to serve by dressing the deities, and each week she gets here and serve in that way, and for her that's what she holds on to in her bhakti. And so for each of us, there's a way, there's a pathway. If one is not particularly inspiring, don't worry. Maybe your heart is not particularly drawn to one particular, it doesn't have to be necessarily. You can start with one of the other practices and find your way there. What does Hiranyakashipu do to Prahlad once he gives this description? Throws him from his lap, and he says to his associates, his followers, his soldiers, he says, this child is like a diseased limb. An infected limb in the body sometimes has to be amputated before it can pollutes or causes disease to the entire body. If there is a cancer, it has to be cut out. And so this family member of mine has to be cut out. It has to be killed. And so he demands that Prahlad be killed. And so the demons, as you see illustrated there, try in different ways. From the pictures and from your knowledge of these stories, what are some of the ways that Hiranyakashipu tries to have Prahlad killed?
Thrown in a pit of snakes.
He has him thrown into a pit of snakes. Yeah?
From that picture, I don't really know the story real well, but from that one picture, it looks like tries to get an elephant to stomp on him.
Yeah, right. So he tries to have him trampled by a mad elephant.
Boiling oil.
Has him put into boiling oil.
Pierced with tridents.
He has demons trying to pierce him with their tridents and swords and other sharp weapons.
Thrown off a cliff.
Has him thrown from a cliff. Has him put out in the cold. And in each instance, Krishna protects him. He's thrown from the cliff, and Krishna appears to catch him and gently place him on the ground like a feather, gently touching the earth. The oil doesn't burn him, the snakes don't bite, the elephant will trample him, rather lifts him up and takes him on a parade. The weapons, they are blunted when they try to strike him. In each instance, Prahlad remains focused in his remembrance on Krishna, and he is protected. Which is when Hiranyakashipu was asked that question, where do you get your power from? I'm unable to, he's worried, but he's also intrigued. Where do you get your power from? And so, any thoughts here? Reflections, realizations?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
As a young child, he had misunderstanding. Is there something we know about his previous lives?
Yeah, good question. So how is it that although he's so small, so tiny, so young, that he has spiritual realization? Is there some background story that we don't know about? Good question, and it's going to be answered in the next couple of minutes as we go forward in the story, because some other people ask Prahlada, like, how do you know all of this? Where did you learn all of this? You're like a child of us. And so he tells them his story. Any other reflections? Yes.
It's so beautiful how you said in the reflections on the last slide that no matter what the circumstances are of life, when it's no impediment to Krishna consciousness.
Right.
I one time wanted to make a t-shirt, no material impediments,
Yeah.
Such a good slogan, like
Right.
no matter what happens. And just as you're sharing how he was persecuted by his father, but during those persecutions, he was actually never disturbed.
Right.
He
Yeah.
just continued his smarnam
Right.
on the Lord.
Yeah.
So that smarnam was unbroken. So when one has such a deep meditation on the Lord, then no matter what happens in their life, that meditation actually can't be broken. You
Yeah.
just continue to think, how can I serve? How
Yeah.
can I serve?
Yeah, good. So sometimes when life becomes difficult, again we have a choice. We can say, okay, I need to take more shelter of Krishna, or we can say, Krishna's abandoned me. We lose faith. And so there's another opportunity for us, right?
Yeah.
When things go, when things become difficult, there's also the opportunity, like we can interpret it in different ways.
Yeah.
We can choose, we have the choice to decide, oh, maybe Krishna doesn't exist, maybe God doesn't exist because I'm a faithful follower and I'm suffering and I'm not feeling protected. Or we can choose at that time to become even more absorbed and even to take even more shelter.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. And Prahlada shows us the example of the latter. Thank you for that. I'm also thinking about the Bhagavad Gita and Arjuna, right? He's on the battlefield, right? And so he's another example of somebody in a most difficult situation, but then it's not an impediment or an obstacle to his practice of bhakti.
Yeah. Can I say one more thing?
Please, yeah.
It's also so beautiful how you, there's these 9 different processes of bhakti.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada, he says in the purports of this section that if one can achieve perfection by one of these processes, imagine if you do all of these processes.
Right. Yeah.
And I think he says the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement is to give an opportunity to people to practice these 9 processes.
Yeah.
But so it's amazing, you know, if we're inspired to practice all of them, how we can absorb ourselves. But like you were saying, also, it's okay, if someone doesn't feel super inclined towards one of them, but they feel very, very inclined towards another one. There's a place for everyone in Prabhupada's movement.
Yeah.
And they're portals into absorption of Krishna when we give our full heart to even one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really nice. And I also like just try to encourage people, like friends or peers, or when someone's not inspired, but is there anything that inspires? Okay, there's your way, and let's just work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Some people have said, if there's a God, why are there so much suffering?
Yeah.
Like the wars and, natural disasters and so on that goes on.
Yeah.
Another thing, Sri Prahlada, Mama, he used to listen to Narad Muni.
Yeah.
Did Hiranyakashipu know about this?
No. So yeah, part of the story of how Prahlada came to know about their Manchitra, his mother was listening to a great saint, and the question was, did Hiranyakashipu know about it? Not that we know specifically. Yeah, good question.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's carry on then. Bhakti is the best of all things that can be learned. Twice, Prahlada was asked, what's the best of all things? And he says, Bhakti. There are many pathways to practice, constantly remember. And then Krishna, when we choose to remember Krishna, Krishna also chooses to remember us. Let's go to our last section. Prahlada is, So the last section, Prahlada is sent back to school after Hiranyakashipu tries to kill him, and he recognizes that he can't. And there's that fear and inquisitiveness. Prahlada, what is the source of your power? But he actually, when you read the Bhagavatam, he starts to get worried. My son is so powerful, I can't kill him. And then the teacher, Sravana, say, don't worry, we'll take him back. And we will try to drill some sense into him. Just let us take him back, because Hiranyakashipu is becoming quite distressed, and he's losing his self-confidence because he's not able to kill his son. And so Shukra's sons, they take him back to the school. And then what Prahlada does at school is interesting. He starts teaching his schoolmates about bhakti. And so this is discussed in the 7th canto, chapter 6, text 1, first verse. Prahlada going back to school, and he tells his friends, Komaram ajaret prajyo dharman bhagavatani ha durlabam manusam janma tarabyat dhruvam artanam. He says, dear friends, this human form of life is very rare. we've all achieved it. It's rare because it can be used, like out of so many millions of different species, we got this human form of life now. And we can use it to awaken spiritual realization. We can become self-realized in this life. And so it shouldn't be wasted. When should we start practicing bhakti? Right now. We're all 5-year-old boys, we're all in school. We need to start cultivating bhakti now. We need to start elevating our consciousness, developing spiritual consciousness. And as words like Prahlada, we're just kids. Like we can do that later when we're big. When we're old, we can inquire after these things. For now, let us just play. And Prahlada has an answer to that. He says, look, you got 100 years. Half of your life, 50 of those years, we're gonna waste sleeping. And then another 20 years, we're kids. So yes, there's playing, there's these other things. And then once we graduate, we have family responsibilities. We have to work. We have to look after. We have different responsibilities as a household. So what's left? You got 10% left, like as extra time, discretionary time for other pursuits. And that's what you're saying you're going to use for cultivating, awakening spiritual awareness? He says, no, we need to start this right now. And it needs to be integrated through all stages of life, that we can awaken pure spiritual realization. So yeah, nice reasoning. He also said you never know when you're going to die. That's another argument he uses. He says, you're saying you're going to become spiritual when you're older, but death could come at any minute. So you don't want to count on that. You don't want to bank on that. So he's very persuasive to his friends. They ask him, Prahlada, how did you learn all of this? Where did you get all of this spiritual wisdom? And he tells them the story. He says, when my father was off performing those austerities, we discussed them at the beginning of this talk today, 10,000 years standing on the tip of his toes, anthill covering his body, he said the devatas, the demigods, they laid siege on my father's capital. They were able to take it over, and they captured my mother and discovered she was pregnant with me. And they worried. Hiranyakashipu, gold pillow, is such a terrifying demon. Imagine what his son will be like. If this child is to be born, he will be an even more terrible demon than his father. Therefore, we must hold the mother and kill the child as soon as it's born. That was their plan. I know, a terrible idea that these demigods, that's Indra there on the right side, he's overseeing this whole thing. The capture of Prahlada's mother, Kayadu. But the sage Narada Muni, whom you see with the veena, he's always doing kirtan, glorifying Krishna, he stops them. And he says to them, no, you give Kayadu's care over to me. I'll look after her. And I'll look after the child. Don't worry. And they have deference to Nard, the great sage, the Devarishi. And so Kayadu goes to Narada Muni's ashram, and Narada Muni each day speaks about bhakti. He speaks about Krishna. He speaks Bhagavatam basically to Kayadu. And the unborn child in the womb of Kayadu is hearing this transcendental knowledge and is purified, or so this is also very instructive in the spiritual culture of India. A pregnant mother is encouraged to hear kirtan, to surround herself in a spiritual, uplifting, pleasant environment, to hear Bhagavatam. Prahlada says that that's where he developed all this spiritual realization, and he considers Narada Muni to be his guru. Even though after Hiranyakashipu came back and Kayadu was returned to the palace of Prahlada, he was wounded. So he never necessarily met Narada Muni face to face. He may have, but this is the story of how he was instructed while in the womb. So this is instructive for us as well. It shows us how the environment can facilitate bhakti. So the boys ask, how did you learn this wisdom? He tells them the story, and then he says, what is bhakti? How is it practiced? He's told them that they should, as a 5-year-old, begin to practice bhakti. They've asked, how did you learn this? He's told them that story. And then they ask, what is it? And earlier, you had a list of 9 practices that Prahlada gives. Now to his school friends, he gives another list of 9, and it's not as famous as the first list, but it's just as wonderful. And this is something that I love to share. How to practice bhakti, these 9 things. You approach a spiritual master like he approached even in the womb. He had the opportunity to hear from Narada Muni. You offer some dakshina, you offer some service to your spiritual master. So Guru Ashraya, Sarva Labda Arpana. Number 3, you associate with bhaktas, Sadhu Bhakta Sangha. We say Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Bhakta Sangha. You worship Krishna, Ishvara Aradhana. You hear about Krishna, Kataya, Sravana, from the other list of 9. You glorify Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes, Kirtana. You meditate on Krishna, Krishna's lotus feet, Padam Bhujam Dhyana. You worship the deity. Okay, so worship Krishna and worshiping the deity is appearing twice. Linga Iksha Arana Hanadivi. And his 9th item is you respect all beings as part and parcel of Krishna. I like all of these items. They're all wonderful. I also love that he includes as his 9th item that you must respect all living beings. You see all living beings as part and parcel of God. Not that you can love God and then hate other people, or love God and exploit other people. But within his frame of what it means to practice bhakti, is love God and love all beings as part and parcel of God. Okay, we're running out of time. He told his friends, dear sons of demons, everyone, including demons, rakshasas, yakshas, sudras, cowherds, birds, animals, sinful entities, can achieve Krishna by practice of bhakti yoga. That's so wonderful and inclusive. He is the example of someone born in a family of demons. And so his friends, they loved Prahlada's teaching and his message. Some Danamarka found that they'd lost their ability to influence the boys because they all became Vaishnavas, they all became bhaktas of Krishna. Jai! So we conclude here for Arti to Sri Sri Radha Muralidhar. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Sri Prahlad Prabhu. Shri Prabhupada. Time for the deities. So we can just move these red cushions to the side and everyone come forward so we can sing and dance for the Lord and engage in offering worship to the Lord. One of the 9 processes recommended by Prahlad. And Kirtan.
Namo Adaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Navi
हमारे शरणागत की Shri Bhagavat Matana Sargana Sarga Swami Prabhupada Ki Thanks to Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopa Gopinath Shavakund Radha Kundi Govardhan Ki Ganga Devi Ki Yamuna Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Bhakti Maharani Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Vaipurna Vidha Ki Rajabhumi Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Hari Gaur Glory to the Son of devotees, glory to the Son of devotees, glory to the Son of devotees, glory to Shri Shri Guru Bhagavat, glory to Shri Prabhupada.
Devotees, thank you so much for being here for Bhagavat Sravana. Let's give another round. Please come back. back, bring your friends, bring your family. Next week, Vasudev will be speaking. He's going to be doing a series, a 4-part series on the Shikshastakam. So the first week will be next week, and then stay tuned for future weeks. And 2 other quick announcements before we break for lunch, Prasadam. If you would like to join our temple newsletter, please go to our website and scroll down to the bottom and click on Join Our Temple Newsletter. That gives you all the things. And the most recent announcements on that is that our Prabhupada Meditations program happens every Wednesday at 26 2nd Avenue. It's a beautiful program, remembrance and glorification of Srila Prabhupada, just around the block from 6:30 to 7:30, followed by Prasadam. Please go bring your friends. And also, we'll be hosting, we do a lot of India pilgrimages at Bhakti Center, but they're primarily kind of geared towards people who are new to Krishna consciousness. We're going to be having our first Bhakti Center Vrindavan pilgrimage this coming September, and it's going to be specifically for devotees and people who have been being cultivated for some time and are ready to go deeper in their Krishna consciousness and take pilgrimage to Vrindavan, and that will be led by my husband and myself. So please, if you're interested, you can contact me. The information is also sent out on our temple newsletter and WhatsApp. And yes, or if you know anyone that would be appropriate for. Thank you so much. Please stay, take prasadam in the back of the temple room so we keep this space clean, and leave a donation if you can. Have sadhu sangha together, which is one of the practices of Krishna consciousness. And thank you so much for being here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
So, they're done with the renovations?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.